What I love about our LifeWave community is that all of you bring hope to others. And that means that all of us working together can be a force for good in this world when there's so much hate and there's so much opposition. We started this program because we had been, since 2005, making donations to organizations like the Red Cross, Convoy of Hope, and making independent donations to LifeWave brand partners around the world to help those in need. And during this process, on the one hand, I felt really great that we were offering hope, we were offering aid, financial assistance, patches. But during this process, I was rather frustrated because it always took so much time to get this much needed money, medical aid, food, water to people that were suffering and they needed the relief now. So the concept started several years ago with myself and my son, and we began to think about what if we created new technology where we could be the ones that were responding to an event like a hurricane, like the fires in Maui, for example, that we could have a drone that would surpass anything else that had existed before, and we could be the first responders. So we actually just started this more like a hobby, and then as we developed the technology and all of the right people showed up, because this has definitely been a team effort, as all the right people showed up, it became quickly evident that this was something really special. And we were doing things that no other company in the world had ever achieved before. So I think to finish out the interview, since we did the unveiling of the drone last year, I'd like you to welcome out, again, our head of special projects, Mr. Jim Caldwell. So, Jim, you've gotten the opportunity to see what we've been doing with the drone up close and personal. You've visited our facility. We have now today a 7,000 square foot hangar where we do this development. We have a very, very large piece of property that we've built out, and we even have our own runway and our own mini airport that we built out for this project. So we're taking it very seriously.
Taking it very seriously. Well, you know, one thing that occurs to me as you were kind of leading up to this moment is, you know, obviously this is a company that is all about no limits, right? And if there ever was someone, you know, as a role model that displays the fact that indeed there are no limits, think about the creativity that leads to this, that has so many implications for so many people on a global basis. So, David Schmidt, incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, Jim, actually, this is a really great example where no matter what type of dream you have, if it's something inside of you, if it's a path that God wants you to take, if it's God's will in your life, you should pursue it, even though there's those obstacles in place. I'm not an aeronautical engineer.
Right.
I'm not formally trained as an engineer, but I had this specific concept, and everything fell into place.
It actually makes no sense to me that you would be in this incredible business that is LifeWave, and then you just quietly go over here and come up with drone technology that the billion-dollar companies can't match. It's unbelievable. Right?
It only makes sense, or doesn't make sense, if you're not thinking about the future. So we have to continue to evolve. That's why we're evolving into a technology company instead of just staying as a patch company, because we want to continue to expand the opportunities that we offer. So one of the comments that I made last year when we did this unveiling is that the technology that's in the drone, the power generation technology that we've been able to create and innovate and turn into a reality that gives the drone some of its remarkable characteristics. The first use in real world is humanitarian. So we can provide aid to those in need. But it's going to go much, much farther beyond that. I think what I would say is that wouldn't get me in trouble too much. I don't want to spoil it too much. But I think what I would say is that we need to be thinking about the dynamics in the world, the threats to our freedom. How are we going to protect our health, protect our food supply, protect our energy supply? So the goals that we're setting with this is to use the power generation technology that's in the drone as a test bed for real life, and then take that technology and bring it into the network and let people have it for personal independence.
I've been known to say to you that I look upon it as like the LifeWave ecosystem, right? And since David's out 10 years in front of us, right? He's thinking way ahead.
I thought it was 20. 10 is okay, I don't mind 10.
You'll take 10. But, I've always said, and I've said to some people here, and we've talked about we're just getting started, you ain't seen nothing yet, watch out. We talked about a product that nobody knows about, it's going to set the world on fire, and he went, yeah. I mean, there is stuff coming because of the nature of how David thinks, that, you're assured of incredible opportunities, and those that are not in the business yet. When you talk about a drone, they're going to say, a drone? Well, now there's a logic to everything he does. No, I'm going to take the power plant from the drone and drop it into this product and that product in the future that has a meaning to all of us in growing a business. And the story that we can tell about LifeWave, unbelievable.
Yeah, there's so much potential for the future with that. Jim, I realized we should probably talk a little bit about the capabilities of the drone and why they're so very far-reaching.
Well, yeah, you mean like what it can actually do?
What it can actually do.
Remember, the Lockheeds, the FedExes, the Amazons can't do it. So, for instance, how far can this thing fly?
Yeah, so since we were here last year, we only had a fixed wing model. And by the way, you could probably get a little bit of feel for the scale. But when we talk about drones, most people are familiar with these small quadcopters or radio-controlled aircraft. This drone is a proper aircraft, and it has a 15-foot wingspan. That's this first model. The next one that we have on the drawing board has a 21-foot wingspan, and that'll be capable of carrying about 600 pounds or so of supplies.
Unbelievable.
That one is in the works. But this drone that we have, either the VTOL or the fixed wing.
Which means vertical takeoff and landing.
Right.
Right.
And so we're trying a number of different things. So with the VTOL, with the fixed wing, we have we've built in some new technology into it, so we can take off in a distance of about 350 feet or so unloaded. So that gives us access to every airport and small airfield in the world.
Right.
And of course, with VTOL, we can take off and land anywhere. So let's say you have a hurricane that goes through the Caribbean. We could land on the beach and deliver supplies. We could do search and rescue, any of those type of operations. And we expect, because we've done it in the lab, that we're going to break the world record for drone flight in this class at more than 40 hours of flight time.
Woo!
Yeah.
And the significance of that, you've mentioned in the past, this ability to go out somewhere, search and rescue, and to loiter, stay in the area, run the grid for over a day. 40 hours, you can be out there a very long time, and normal drones can't come close.
Right. Yeah.
So this is life and death in terms of being able to be out there and find somebody in distress.
Yeah, absolutely. The idea is, we'd have a fleet of these, and of course we would work with organizations like the Coast Guard and different governments around the world. And you just put the drones up into the air. They fly in a grid pattern back and forth. And of course they have sensors on them. They have thermal imaging, cameras and other sensors. And so they can be looking for people lost at sea. So the ability to stay in the air for almost 2 days is of an enormous advantage. That's obviously a very, very tight window for people when they're in that type of circumstance. So every hour counts. So not having to go back and refuel, but stay in the air, communicate to ground control is an enormous advantage.
And he said drones, plural, right? So there's going to be, at some point, multiple drones, multiple regions, with appropriate staff to support, so that when you get the call from the Red Crosses of the world or Convoys of Hopes or whomever, you're going to be able to say, okay, where do you need it? When? Okay, I'll get back to you in a half hour, and you alert the gang and say, let's go.
Yeah, we've had any number of interesting people that have approached us to offer support. And basically, with these drones, with this type of aircraft, you want to get at least 300 hours of flight time during testing. And then, unfortunately, you have to build a drone and destroy it. Because you have to know what type of winds that it will take, what type of crashes it can sustain, and so forth. And so we're looking at all different new ways of building composites so that the aircraft will be very, very light, yet very, very strong. So the numbers are pretty impressive, because in some of the drones, we're using traditional carbon fiber or fiberglass. But I invented a nanotechnology foam.
Of course you did.
That is exceptionally strong and light. So this is going to go into one of the versions of the drone. But essentially, this today gives us a dry weight of about 185 pounds for the drone, but yet it can still carry over 200 pounds of payload. And of course, then you add the fuel, and it brings the weight up further. So that's one of the advantages of the Delta Wing flying wing platform, and we're using it to its best advantage.
And I guess when we circle back, why? The why of this project, right? You've got multiple reasons, but at its core, you thought, hey, I could make something to help people in a way that's significant. And that's one of your main missions personally, with the company, as the leader, making sure that we all remember there's those in need and we can help. The more success we have, the more important it is that we step up, right, and do more.
Yeah, I think this is really a great example. Each of you have dreams, you have goals and objectives, and there's so many people in life that will tell you you can't do it, you're not smart enough, you don't have the formal education, you don't have enough money. And you should never let those things stand in your way. If there's something that you hold dear in your heart and you want to pursue it, you should. And this is such a great example of that.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, I think we've covered quite a bit, and I think what we want to do now is talk a little bit more about how we're going to use this drone in practical, real-world circumstances. So I want to thank you for being such an important part of documenting this project and helping to bring all of that part together.
My pleasure, David. Of course.
Thank you, Jim. Jim Caldwell, everybody.
Thank you. All right.